President and CEO of AGC. I reported to the board of directors. That came about with all of that huge responsibility.
And I just want listeners to realize we're going from Kofi, sleeping in his car, working for Coach, taking showers in LA Fitness, to then being president and CEO of AATC. Welcome back to the Badass Leaders Podcast. Today's guest shows us what truly excellent leadership looks like. Dr. Kofi Smith is the former president and CEO of the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company, where he led nearly $1 billion in operations at the world's busiest airport, doubled the workforce, and delivered major sustainability wins. In 2020, he then launched Keystone Management, one of Atlanta's fastest growing private companies. Among his many awards, Kofi was most recently named 2025's Entrepreneur of the Year by the Georgia Tech Black Alumni Organization, and the Atlanta City Council awarded him the 2024 Pacesetter Award. Dr. Smith also serves on several nonprofit boards, teaches at Georgia Tech, remains committed to developing future leaders, and is an all-around badass leader. Okay, as a reminder, we love to hear our listeners' thoughts and feedback, so please leave us a comment and we will respond to continue the conversation. Okay, now it's time to dig in. So join me, Angela Gill Nelms, on today's episode of the Badass Leaders Podcast, where I'm joined each week by industry experts for intimate and eye-opening discussions about the challenges and joys facing the leaders of today. Listen in and get ready to scale your company, grow your brand, and unlock your full badass potential. So listeners, welcome back to the Badass Leaders Podcast and welcome to AGN Studios, Kofi.
This is so amazing. I am amazingly humbled, so impressed. Of course, I would be, but it's so amazing just to be here with you.
So you and I know each other because we both serve on GTAB, which is the board to the president at Georgia Tech. And I will say, I love our board meetings because I constantly sit there and I just want to sit back and watch the amazing leaders in the room give. And your energy and your passion and the things we're going to talk about today really inspired me. And so, full transparency, we turn away about 9 out of 10 people that reach out to us to be on this podcast. Wow. Because this is not a popularity podcast. It's not a how much revenue did you have at your last company podcast. It is a podcast that we really want to focus on amazing leaders who are driving change, who are passionate about the world, who are passionate about making work life great, making cultures great, really having a paradigm shift of impact. And so recently we were sitting across from each other and I was like, hey, Kofi, will you be on my podcast?
I mean, after what you just said, I think I need to get up and walk out.
No,
I am not that person.
You are.
I'm so amazed that I am truly amazed that you asked me to be on your podcast. I'm amazed that I am here, and I hope that something that I say and that I share will be able to impact one person, if not more than one, but just at least one. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I asked you to be on the podcast, and then I gave you my card, and it was Badass Leaders Podcast, and you were like, yeah, of course I should, because I'm a badass leader, which I think the more leaders who are badass leaders need to recognize that, because I am on this mission. We're going to talk about legacy in a moment, but I have a couple of pieces of my legacy. And one piece of my legacy is I really want to kind of get rid of the managers and elevate the leaders. I want to make the work world where you can really love what you're doing. I want to make it an environment that's safe, compassionate, impactful, motivating, all of these types of things. So if I can talk to individuals who've done this in different spheres, that is a great. So now what I'm going to do is I want you to introduce yourself, Kofi, and tell us a little bit about your background, okay? And then tell us why you agreed to say yes to today. Because the other thing is that I know that every time we say yes to something, it means we said no to something else.
Yeah.
And you have to choose your yeses wisely. Mm-hmm. So also tell us why you said yes to being on the podcast.
Well, I'll tell you why I said yes, which will flow into my background.
Okay.
All right. So when you asked me to be on your podcast, I think a lot of people who may be classified by others as badass leaders, they don't see it. Many times people see more through their lens about us than we see through our lens about ourselves.
Yes.
And full transparency, I've struggled with that a lot. Growing up, insecure, low self-esteem, low self-confidence. Growing, it became imposter syndrome. Been with 3 different therapists. And before I ever got with my first therapist, I thought it was taboo. I thought it was, why would I go talk to somebody about me? I know me better than anyone who knows me. A very crazy thing to say. But until you go through therapy, you don't realize that it's crazy.
And I think it's not crazy. One of the things that I learned, and we haven't finished my conversation about my kidnapping, but one of the things that I learned when I was in residential treatment after the kidnapping, and I was with several people from the African American community, were really, that's when I realized that the taboo for therapists within that community is way higher than what it is in the white community. I don't know. Like, listeners, forgive me for not understanding how I should define my community. But the thing is that I had no idea.
It's
right?
Very high. Very high.
And it is so high. And then I just remember, Kofi, the moment that Adrian, she went by Age, originally said this to me. When she first said it, I was just like, okay, this feels like an excuse or whatnot. That was the story I was telling myself in my head. And then when I researched and with my previous podcast and I learned more, I realized that the difference in the culture dynamics of being willing and understanding the value of therapy, which I'm a big proponent of therapy.
Me too.
Are huge. So first off, kudos to you, because you and I are not young. Yeah. So I know also as we age, that cultural barrier, and that is much higher. So I just want to spotlight that, because that really says a lot about who you are as a human, that you are willing to venture into that.
Yeah, and just so you know, and again, I'm probably more transparent out of fault that I've been blamed, that I share too much. I don't think I really know any other way. But I'm going to talk to my therapist after this.
Good.
So
good. Hopefully it's all good things.
Yeah, it's good
Hopefully
things.
Angela pumped me up and reminded me what an amazing human that I am.
Yes.
So you probably don't know this about as much about me, Kofi, but some of our listeners do, and former employees, is that I do not give out false accolades. I will not say something, but I won't give out. And so one of the things that I loved building companies, when team members, when I gave them kudos, they said, I know I really earned it. Like, you weren't it wasn't a fake thing. So I want you to know, like when I selected you, it was not a false thing. We're booked out for October. We didn't need to fill a slot, but what we needed to do is fill slots with amazing humans. So there you go.
A lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure.
so don't fuck it up. Sorry, audience.
A lot of pressure.
It's one of my favorite things.
But
anyway,
I am so thankful
Yep.
for many reasons. And part of it is when you asked me to be on your podcast and you slid a card, and again, so many people know how amazing you are. I didn't quite know, honestly, because there's so many people that's on our board.
Right.
And I haven't got to know everyone. But sitting across you and just having a little bit of that conversation, and you asking me to be on your podcast, it was God speaking to me then, saying that I got you. I know a lot of things are going on with you, and you're looking for a win, because I was having a lot of ails at the time. And it was him speaking through you to me to say, I got you. And even more so when we were standing out in the green room getting ready to come in, you told me why you do this. And I told you that I didn't want to talk about it because I'll start crying. We'll talk after the interview.
Right.
But this is very this is on time for me. Hence the reason why I'm going to see my therapist after this. I needed this. And I think a lot of badass leaders don't see themselves as a badass leader.
Yes.
And it takes people like you and others to remind us who God created us to be.
Yes.
And who we are and who we are becoming, right? So for me, this is that moment. Like I literally, when I came over with a whole bunch of stuff that's going on in my life, it was God reminded me, I got you.
Yeah, he does got you.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like, can I convert that to proper English when I say it in the back? But I'll just use that. But he does have you. And I'm a big believer in those special moments like that. Like I remember that when I decided, it's so funny, right? Because we have this board meeting. So listeners, the people on our board are freaking amazing.
They are.
I mean, these are people who are on the board to the president of Georgia Tech.
Of Georgia Tech.
Like not, you know, and so, and also there's so many amazing, humble leaders on it that just, I learn something new. So one of the values of the AGN Group is being lifelong learners, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the things I love being on the board is being a lifelong learner and watching these other executives, right? And I remember our last board meeting coming in, and I used to be, this is going to shock you, I used to be super shy. And I used to really be focused on also the imposter syndrome. I used to be really focused on when I walk into a room, and a lot of this ties to childhood trauma. So I used to walk into a room and think everyone's looking at me and thinking she doesn't belong. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought, right? Mm-hmm. And now when I coach people, I'm like, trust me, they're not thinking that. They're thinking, did I brush my teeth? Do I have lipstick on my teeth? Like, do I have something? Do I have parsley or something in my teeth? And so when as I've progressed, and especially this last board meeting, I just walked in and I was just like, look, I'm just Angela, Yeah. And I sat down across from you and we were eating food. Mm-hmm. And I observed you, and I already knew your story because I just love to get to know humans as humans. And I'd already researched a lot of board members. I've been watching you for several years, not in a stalker way, but
Thank
get
you.
it. And anyway, but I was like, oh, I want to sit across from Kofi. Absolutely. Right. And I sat down and then I observed you blessing your food.
Yeah.
And it just warmed my heart. And I thought, and because here's the deal, is that full transparency, I see in the world a lot of people blessing their food, right? And yet oftentimes I see a lot of amazing leaders who are afraid to show that part of themselves. Mm-hmm. And especially when they're in an environment like what our board meetings are with a lot of other amazing leaders. Yeah. And so I observed that. And I immediately said to myself, okay, I already knew he's an amazing leader. He was already inspiring. I've been tracking everything you've been doing for years on LinkedIn. And at the same point, dude is like a legit human.
Man, you're going to make me cry. You're going to make me cry. So, and the reason why I say that is, one, I'm an introvert. I would surprise you as well that I'm super shy. People don't believe it until you get to really know me. Because people see me on stage speaking to people. People see me in ballrooms, whatever the case may be, and they think I'm working the crowd, and it's not. I'm just in a place where I know a lot of people, and I've been blessed to know a lot of people, so my network is big. So if I go to the 4 Pillars Award, I'm going to know a lot of people at the 4 Pillars Award. So when my mentees are there and they're following me, like, oh my God, you know everybody. Oh my God, you're just out, outgoing, and you never meet a stranger. I'm like, that's not me. If you put me somewhere where I know no one, I'll retreat into a corner and I'll wait for people to approach me. Now, once you approach me, I got you, because we're going to build rapport very, very quickly, because I'm a lover of people.
Right.
So I'm going to engage. I'm going to find out as much as I can about you. I'm an open book. So I'm going to share a whole bunch about me that I probably shouldn't, but it creates that connectivity very, very quickly. So I only say that is because I'm shy. And when I meet another introvert or I meet another quiet spirit who's as successful as you are, and the fact that you've been able to get past that, I learn a lot from that. And it makes me feel, you know what? I'm okay.
You are okay.
I'm okay. It's okay. The other reason what you said really impacts me is because I sat with a lady. Last Thursday, maybe. I get all my days confused. And she made a similar comment. I'm in her office. She asked me to be on her board. It hasn't been announced yet, so I can announce it. But she says, I've been tracking you since the fall when someone made me aware of you. And I was like, what? She's like, I've been following you. And I don't even really post like I should on LinkedIn. I should get a lot better, right? But the fact that you've said that comment, and just last week someone else said that comment, it makes me know that God got me, and I'm a badass leader.
You are a badass leader. You are a badass leader. Okay, so we have a lot of questions, and we may or may not get through them because, listeners, what you may not know, my passion is really to have an engaging conversation. Yes. And I have a lot of questions I want to ask him. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time to ask Kofi, but we're going to dig in.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to talk fast.
What time is your appointment with your therapist?
Oh, no, she's...
You're good.
Yeah, she told me you call me when you're ready.
Okay, good. Okay, so we don't have to talk fast.
No.
I had a moment of like, wait, what? Okay.
Oh, I was going to say I was going to talk fast only because I want to be respectful of your time.
Oh, dude.
Okay, all right, I'm good.
We are good. We're going to crush this.
All right.
Okay, listeners, are you ready? We are going to talk about amazing things we're going to talk about manager versus leader. We're going to talk about conflict resolution. We're going to talk about Kofi's earlier days in high school and coaching and legacy making. We're going to talk about your time and I'm not going to get this right. It's on my cards here. Your time, yes, at the Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company, which I don't even know what that is, and I live in Atlanta. But we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about why you decided to move into your own company and what the future looks like for you. How's that sound?
Let's do it.
Good. Let's dig. Okay, so let's start. One of the things that at the AGN Group, we if you pull up on our website, which you should, listeners, if you pull on our website and you scroll down to what our values are, the first value is people first. Okay, people over profits. Mm-hmm. And then after that is getting to know humans as humans. So what I want to do right now, Kofi, is I want to know you as a human. So like maybe share some vulnerable things. Tell us about your family or about how you grew up, where you grew up, some things like that.
So really quickly, just giving you a backstory.
Yep.
I always tell people I'm just a little country boy from Alabama.
Where in Alabama?
Florence, Alabama.
Oh my gosh. I know Florence, Alabama.
Florence, Alabama.
Actually, my daughter's...
Cities.
Yes. My daughter's dad, a.k.a. ex-husband. But my daughter's dad grew up in Ardmore. And Ardmore, Alabama is very close to Florence.
Is it?
It is.
Okay.
It's a small town close to Florence. And my sister-in-law, Melissa, and them live in Florence. And we did all this stuff in Florence and in Huntsville and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes. Now,
so I know that.
Huntsville, Madison area, that was my stomping ground.
Yep.
Yeah, so grew up in Florence, Alabama. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, what a lot of people don't know, but I try to share it, is I had a speech impediment growing up. So it was hard for me to say certain words. I would get my R's and my L's mixed up.
I would not guess that now.
And it was so funny. I still have that. I still have somewhat of a problem with pronouncing certain words. So I try to challenge myself in that aspect. But when I get on stage, I recognize what words I can't say, and I make accommodation for it.
I love this. this. So can we pause for a moment? Because this, I think, is recognizing who you are as a human and the things that make you unique as a human. I'm not going to call them disabilities. They are what make you unique as a human. And then saying, okay, in this new environment, in order to set myself up for success so everyone can receive what I'm trying to say, I am just going to select the words that I can crush.
That's right.
And I think all public speakers, if you're going to pause for a moment, that do that. Like pause. I'm blown away by that. Okay, sorry. No. That whole moment, I was just like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. Absolutely. Why don't we pick the words and the phrases and things like that we can crush?
for that piece, it's all about delivering your message, right?
Right, because the goal is you want them to understand you.
That's the goal. You're in a position of serving, and you want to make sure that what you serve is nourishment for their body. So you got to serve it the right way so they don't throw it up, right? They need to walk out saying, wow. So that's why I pick words that I don't try to impress people with words, because it's hard for me to do that. So I pick words that are simplistic in nature, I can say, and then I know that they'll get the message. So that speech impediment issue, I was bullied when I was younger. That's one of the reasons why I have a lot of people that may tune in and hear this, especially when I post it, that I call big brothers, big sisters. I just started adopting people to me. Now, I was a big brother with my little sister in the house 2 years behind me. But I was, again, the insecurity, the low self-esteem, not really understanding who I was as a young man or who I was going to become. So I struggled a little bit. Got into high school, faced some betrayal from some good friends, which was my first time of ever having to do that, which is the worst time because you're in high school. So you're young, you don't know how to process it. In high school, we think, it's the end of the world if I have a friend that says they're no longer my friend, or I have a girlfriend that breaks up with me, whatever. It's the end of the world.
I still remember my first breakup.
Exactly, right? That's our little world at the time. That's
exactly.
all we have.
And the world was ending.
And it was ending, and everything has
exactly.
There's perspective, and we live in a world where everything is relative. So relative to me at that time, this is the worst thing that could happen to me. So high school was not bad for me. That was just a moment in my life. Ended up having didn't play football for my freshman year. I played, but it was my sophomore year that was most impactful for me when I was not playing. And then my cousin, I call him my cousin, just like my cousin, PJ, he was on the field and he was killing it. And I was like, man, PJ's out there killing it. I loved it for PJ, but I was like, man, I want to be out there with him.
Right.
So I pretty much got no playing time my sophomore year. I sat on the bench, cheered him on, cheered on the other varsity guys. But my junior year, I got my breakout. And my junior year, my senior year were amazing years.
You played what position?
Quarterback and defensive back, free safety. Long story in that, have a couple records from high school.
Don't be humble, because one of the things that Katie, our producer, said is when we were preparing for this interview, she was just like, Kofi has all of these awards and almost none of them are posted on LinkedIn. So I will say you've been judged as being a little too humble. Brag a little bit more. So tell us about some of your awards.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you this one where it fits, because God has blessed me a lot with a lot of awards.
Yes.
And it ties into this story. But that senior year, got a couple records, 4 touchdowns in one game. Some rushing yards as a quarterback. So I was having a great junior year, but my senior year was even better. But during that time, all of my teammates were getting offers. And this is a true story. I tell this all the time. My teammates were getting offers, and I was getting rejection letters. And
from colleges, right?
From colleges,
yep.
Hadn't taken any what we call official visits, where the college brings you to the campus, takes you out, blah, blah, blah. So I was getting rejection letters while everybody else was getting acceptance letters. So I got this one rejection letter, and I'm
getting chills right now because I know your future story. So.
Yeah, it's amazing. I got this rejection letter from UCLA, and I don't know why that letter had such an impact on me as it did. It may have been because it was on the tail end of all these other rejection letters, and it just happened to be that one.
Yeah.
But that letter, I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I'm not going to college. And that, for me, not being able to get a scholarship to me meant I wasn't going to be able to go to college.
Yep.
And my mom, she grabbed me and she said, listen, true story, tell everybody this, is that she said, we're going to pray for a week. We're going to pray for a week. Now, I knew about prayer. I knew about talking to God, but I really didn't understand that it's a conversation between you and God. I didn't understand that.
Right.
So I just followed my mom's lead. We prayed for a week. The next week, true story, I had 11 offers. 11.
I just got chills because I know which offer you took. But
exactly.
I just got chills because I think, one of the things, and I'm working on a couple of things. I want to write a book on conflict resolution. We're going to talk about it in a little bit because I love, and also on resilience. Because when people look at me and they say, oh, you're so resilient, one of the things that I want individuals to understand is that resiliency, no one is born with resiliency. Mm-hmm. Resiliency is created when you do hard things and you overcome them.
That's right.
And then you realize that, and it gives you the courage to do hard things again. Right. And I think that by you being in a situation where you're getting these rejection letters and you're just like, I'm going to pause and pray for a week, right? And then see the other side of it is an early stage of resiliency, which is amazing.
Yeah, and you start stacking, I call it stacking wins.
Yes.
But it's also you're able to build upon that resiliency. So it makes you stronger for the next thing that is coming, but you have to get through that one. You have to pass that test. You got to push through it. And it's just like in school. I got to pass this test. I got to pass this grade to progress and get to the next grade. So in that one, again, I didn't know what was happening. So I had to look back, right, and connect the dots going backwards. But that was God's.
Because hindsight is always 20/20, and foresight is always completely blind.
I mean, it's blurred. It's like, where do I go? What do I do? So, if I chunk high school, or if I chunk my beginnings, it was speech impediment, bullied, low self-esteem, low self-confidence. Finally got the breakout moment in high school, setting the records, getting on the field, becoming somewhat of a star, and then getting rejection letters behind becoming a star. Pause with my mom, pray for a week from 0 acceptance letters, 100% rejection letters, to the next week, the very next week, 11 scholarship offers, 11 acceptance. And what was so cool, super cool about that, now the official visits could start, right? Because now 11 schools said, hey, we want you. We want you.
Exactly.
So I took my visit to Mississippi State, fantastic visit. I went to Vanderbilt. Well, at Vanderbilt is where I wanted to attend because I wanted to be a doctor. So Vanderbilt was bringing me on as a
What kind of doctor did you want to be?
Orthopedic.
Okay.
So me and my best friend.
Yeah, an athlete. You want to be an orthopedic surgeon?
So me and my best friend, Michael Passarella, who's a fantastic doctor now in Birmingham.
Hi, Michael. Because you're going to watch this.
Mike, shout out, Mike. We were going to open up a practice together. So we were working in the hospital, in the OR when we were in high school. So
this is in Florence, Alabama.
In Florence, Alabama.
So I can think of what hospital would that
ECM,
have been?
At the time, ECM.
ECM, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we were working in the hospitals. We got to see all kind of surgeries, all this stuff. It was an amazing experience.
Wow.
So Vandy, being an incredible medical school and wanting me to come
close
as a
to family, and
close to family in Nashville, I was like, man, this feels really good.
Absolutely.
This feels great. One of the smartest decisions I've ever made is when they offered me to come to Vandy on Sunday. I said, hey, and they were going to take us as a package deal, me and my tight end, Eric Wisman, who ended up going to Vandy. Eric signed his commitment letter. Yes, I'm going to come. They asked me. And I said, well, just give me till Monday.
Yep.
Smartest decision I ever made in my young life. And my parents, amazing, they supported me. They said, hey, it's your choice.
Right.
Which is huge for parents to do for a child when you're talking about a scholarship.
Well, I want parents to hear this, right? I think one of the struggles that I see in dynamics are if parents can advocate for the kids and help them learn how to make wise decisions and own their decisions, the amount they're setting themselves up for success in the future in the corporate world and whatnot is amazing. And I know as a parent myself, that's really hard. And I have a special needs daughter, and I go through this constantly. And my thought is, if we can pause as parents to help our children learn how to make wise decisions and then own the decisions and move forward, what greater gift could we give to them at that juncture in life,
there's no greater gift that we can give our children than the gift of independence.
Right?
And
Absolutely.
that's a part of it. Being independent is being able to make your own decisions.
And live with it.
Chart your own path.
Yep.
Right? And especially as you told me about your daughter, how she has charted her own path.
Yep.
And she is doing what she loves to do as it pertains to the animals. Right?
Yeah,
right?
Good memory.
So, in that instance, my mom and dad were so wise to say, this is your decision. We love Vandy. We think you would be great here, but it's your choice. You make your decision. Both my mom and dad supported me. The very next day, Monday, Coach Huxtable called me.
I love this.
So Coach Huxtable, he called me and he said, listen, I don't know how we did not see your film. We just got your film. The last visit is this weekend. We want to get you up to Atlanta. Now, I knew nothing about Georgia Tech except for one thing, Sean Jones. So Sean Jones, and I've seen Sean, and I told Sean this story. But back then, Sean Jones was one of maybe 3, maybe 5 black quarterbacks back then. Now everything is black quarterback, right? But back then, you had a very, very small number of black African-American quarterbacks. So I used to wear all of my stuff in high school at Bradshaw like Sean Jones did at Georgia Tech. So I had the same face mask he had. I wore my gloves like him. I had wristbands that I would wear. I just mimicked Sean Jones, right? I picked him and said, I'm going to be a quarterback like Sean Jones, right? So when Coach Huxtable called me, that's all I knew about Georgia Tech. I'm like, yes. I called Vandy. I said, I got one more visit. I need to go to Georgia Tech, and I'll let you all know once I finish my Georgia Tech visit. Go to Georgia Tech. Long story. It was amazing. Sunday, I called, I accepted at Georgia Tech on Sunday. I called Vandy on Monday and said, I'm going to be a yellow jacket.
Yes. Because we're both yellow jackets. They're the best.
Yeah, they're the best. And it's been great. Tech was amazing. So you take that little chunk and now you move me to Georgia Tech. And a very important part of Georgia Tech, industrial engineer from Georgia Tech. When I got to Tech, I called Mike and said, hey man, I cannot be a doctor. I am at the #1 industrial engineering school in the world
for like the past 30 years,
forever, right? And now we got the #1 industrial engineering for masters, right? I mean, that is who Tech is. Amazing engineering school, but industrial engineering is #1.
Yep.
So I said, I can't be a doctor. I got to be an IE. You take that and take me through football. Okay, I wasn't a star. I was not a star. I was a star amongst stars. I played with Joe Hamilton, Keith Brookin. The list goes on and on. Ryan Stewart and Tavares Tillman. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are guys that were amazing, and all of these guys went to the NFL. Joe Burns. These guys had fantastic careers. And I was not at that level, although I wanted to be, but I was not at that level, and it just was not my calling as much as I wanted to believe it was. So, big story about Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was amazing. I'm an industrial engineer. I'm a football player. I pledged fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Incorporated. Loved my college experience. I had a lot of highs and I had a lot of lows. And my deepest low is when we were playing Georgia in 1997. I finally got into the game. I'm starting because I was not a starter, and we're doing great. It's the best game that I ever had. And I'm starting. It's Thursday night game. No other game is on. Everybody in Alabama is watching the game.
Everyone in Georgia is watching the game.
Exactly. The game. Everybody's watching the game.
Right.
And I'm having the best game. This is Hines Ward. That was on that team. Corey Allen. So they had a high-powered team. Georgia was very good. So we're beating Georgia, and we had not beat them since 1990.
Right.
This is 1997.
Because what year was it that Georgia Tech won the national championship? 91? 90. Okay.
90.
Yep.
So we beat Colorado in 90 and won the national championship. So we had not beat Georgia since 90. So here it is, 1997, 7 years later, right? And I'm having the best game of my life. We call a timeout. They have the ball. We're winning. Coach O'Leary calls a timeout. We come to the sideline. He's trying to get us all focused. I'm focused. Coach O'Leary, you didn't think I was focused. I was focused.
Okay,
he yells at me on the sideline.
FYI,
Coach,
he was focused.
Yes, I was focused. And he's like, he would call me Coffee, pay attention. And I was zoned in, and I had zoomed in, and I was imagining, and I knew the play was going to come my way.
Right.
So we end the timeout. We go out on the field, and the play came my way, and I did not make the play. Corey Allen catches it, and we had like, I don't know, seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
He catches it. I look up. Ref raises his hands for touchdown. I look at Keith Brook and I look at Brian Wilkins, and I saw their faces, and my heart crushed. Everything.
Wow.
Everything. So, and for the listeners, you got to remember that who I was in high school, insecure, low self-esteem, right? Low self-confidence.
Right.
Speech impediment, bully, blah, blah, blah. Getting to Georgia Tech and then pledging, becoming a Kappa, and, matriculating through Georgia Tech. All those same things still existed with me. And then when I was not playing, was not starting, and then I finally got on the field, that was a big deal. It was as if I had arrived. It was as if everything that I had been through now is my moment because the world is watching. All I have to do is make this play, and I go to the NFL. That's what I told myself.
Right.
All I have to do is make this play.
Right.
We win the game. We haven't beat Georgia in 7 years. I go to the NFL. I'm on everybody's charts.
List.
I'm going to start.
Right.
I'm going to start the next year because I still had one more year to play, but that was going to catapult me into the next year. I was going to be a starter, blah, blah, blah. I didn't make the play. Long story short, I was the last person out of the locker room. I cried the entire way walking back to West Campus. I get to my dorm. I close my door, and I was going to commit suicide. So I took a bottle of 800 milligram Motrin, and I didn't share this. I share it all the time now, but I didn't share it until, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago was the first time I shared it on Facebook and on, I don't even know if I shared it on LinkedIn. I probably did.
Right.
But it was about, probably more like 6 or 7 years when I first shared this story, and I held it with me for all of those years. Even people at Tech didn't know.
Right.
The next day didn't know. But I poured out these 800 milligram Motrin. I was going to take them all. And whether or not that was going to kill me or send me to Grady to get my stomach pumped, I didn't know. But in my mind, I'm trying to take my life.
Right.
And the reason why, I never understood how people could get to suicide. But that night, I realized when you lose all hope and all belief, if God doesn't exist, the devil doesn't exist, heaven doesn't exist, hell doesn't exist.
What's the point?
All that exists is my pain.
Right.
What's the point in living with my pain? If I take my life, there's nowhere I'm going to go, because God cannot exist if you allowed this to happen to me, right? You cannot exist if you allowed this to happen to me.
Which is the story you were telling yourself in the head.
That's what I was telling myself in the head. So I told God, if you do exist, which is crazy when I look back, right? Because I just said I'm going to take my life because you don't exist. If you do exist, I need to hear from you, God, because I'm now. Like, I need to hear from you just as I'm being, you're hearing me in this audible tone. I need to hear from you, God. I wouldn't open up the door for anybody. Classmates knocked on my door. A friend of mine had driven all the way from Stone Mountain, slid a card up under my desk, had watched the game, and said, I know you're not going to open the door. I left a plant outside of your door, but I need you to read this card. And I opened up that card, and that card says, sometimes God closes doors to open up new windows. That's what saved my life.
God, I just got chills.
That is what saved my life. Now, the next day was one of the hardest days of my life.
What kind of plant was it? Did you kill it? Oh, no.
But I do not have a green thumb, okay? I kept it as long as I could and watered it every now and again. But the plant died, but that note never did.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it has carried me to where I am today, we'll be 50 in October.
We're the same age. I turned 50 in August.
You will turn 50?
Yeah, I turned 50 in August. We're hitting the big 5-0, living
go.
our best lives, right?
Oh, yes. So that carried me all the way to this day. So the next day was hard. And, I had to face my teammates. I had to face campus because it was Friday, because it was a Thursday night game. I had to go in and I had to watch it over and over and over with my teammates,
right,
and the coaches. It was hard. I started my senior year on third string, so Coach O'Leary and the coaches. And when you're on third string, you're benched. And this is my senior year, my fifth year, senior year. If I'm going to go to the NFL, I'm going to have any shot of going to the NFL.
Right,
you're not going to do it on the bench.
No.
So I was on the bench, and that's when people kind of came to know me as fans. And people still talk about it today when I meet them, like the diehard Tech fans, is that I accepted my role. And this is something for all leaders or just all people in general, is you bloom where you're planted, and then God will lift you out that pot and put you in a bigger pot, right?
Yep.
So I accepted that I'm on third string defense. I'm not going to get into the game, but I am on special teams. And I'm going to do everything that I can to be the star on special teams. And my teammates will tell you to this day, I mean, that's where I made my name, is on special teams. And then I became the hype man, so to speak, on the sideline for all the fans, for my teammates, just getting them uplifted. The point of that piece, the chunk of it is I got into it was our senior day. My mom and dad were there. My little guy, Deodric, who I took the responsibility of when his father got shot, he was there. He was 5 at the time. And he came on the field. My mom and dad came on the field at halftime. We took pictures. We were playing Boston College. And no, wait, that's not right. We were playing Wake Forest. We were playing Wake Forest. I got into the game, and I was able to scoop up a fumble and take it back for 90 yards. And that was a school record. My last home game at Bobby Dodd.
Oh, my gosh.
That win, not my touchdown, which caused the win, but the win got us into a bowl game. That record stood in the record books for 22 years.
Wow.
And my son saw it. My mom and dad saw it. Everybody saw it. And it's just one of those things when you accept your role and where you are and you bloom where you're planted, then being grateful for the small things will bring the big things. So God allowed me to end my career at Georgia Tech. As I mentioned, I had some very big highs and very low lows. But I was able to end my career on a high. And that season, we went 10-2. We beat Georgia at Georgia between the hedges. We ripped out the hedges, and
I love it.
Right,
I love it.
The hedges. But that was Georgia Tech. And then trying to get into the NFL, I tore my quad, and football was not going to be the thing anymore. So I went and I worked in my industrial engineering degree at Milliken and Company. And just for all your listeners, because it's much longer than the time that we have. People always ask me, how did you become so successful?
Yep.
Right. And it was Steve Alford, who was my plant manager at the time. He said, do you want to be an industrial engineer? You got the degree. You can do time studies. You can do analysis. You can sit behind the desk. You can do that. Or you can go out on the plant floor and I'll give you a team. And I'm a football guy. Right? So I said,
all about team, right?
Show
me the team.
Give me a team. And he said, great. I'm glad you said that. True story. I've never forgotten this. And I give Steve Alford all the credit for the path that he put me on. Because what he said to me is that, great, I'm glad you said that. I'm going to give you the worst team, C Shift. They're the lowest in productivity. They're the lowest in process reliability. They're the lowest in quality.
Only way to go is up.
And he told me, you're going to sink or swim. I mean, this is a young kid coming out of Georgia Tech. This is my first job.
Right.
And at that time, I'm like, this is amazing. I called my mom and said, I don't know what I just did. I just accepted this role as a production manager. And the plant manager told me I'm going to sink or swim. And my mom said, that's fine, baby, swim.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely, swim.
So within 6 months, that team became the number one team. We broke records. We set records. Every other shift was chasing us within 6 months.
How did you make that change?
So this is so important for everybody because this is, you will hear this story or you will see this formula throughout my whole entire career. Even to this day as CEO of my own company,
yep.
I do the same thing that I did then. So all I did was, and again, I didn't know a lot about leadership, but I had already started at Georgia Tech reading Robert Kiyosaki's books. I read Napoleon Hill books. I read Dennis Kimbrough books while at Tech. I tried to get into Amway. I tried to get in Quick Start, all these multi-level marketing, right? I wanted to be a CEO of something. So listening to all those tapes.
And I think also we should realize that we should all throughout these journeys be the CEO of the current role that we are currently living and do it for the absolute best we can.
When I so my students, my mentees, people that I speak, I say, what I want you to do, what I want, and all your listeners right now, I want them to walk away understanding that you are the CEO of you.
Yep.
So if I'm the CEO of Dr. Smith, Inc., then that means I need a board of directors that's going to help govern the CEO.
Love, yes.
So from my therapist to my business coach to my executive coach to my executive mentors to my spiritual advisor, I have a board of directors that help govern me. And still, I make some knucklehead decisions at times. But for the most part, when I have a major decision to make, I go and I seek out my board of directors and I ask them, help give me guidance. So the point is about that. When we're the CEO of us, then brand is important.
Yes.
How we interact with people are important.
Customer experience.
Understanding who your shareholders are,
yep.
which is anybody that you may bump into, because anyone that you bump into can improve and increase your stock, whatever your stock is. So in your instance, your stock is, I'm going to be on TV one day and I'm going to have a talk show.
Yes.
I want to have the number one.
That's going to happen.
Right? And so whoever you meet, that person is a shareholder or a potential shareholder because they can impact your stock price.
And I'm going to go back to what you said about the board of directors. So I love this. I have been also sharing this idea for probably like the past 10 years. I have a blog post about creating your A team. And the A team is you have your board of directors, the people in your foxhole, and then the people in your locker room. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things is that when we're creating these different teams around us is that then we realize, okay, when I have a business decision, I'm going to go to my board members. Mm-hmm. When I am dealing with something and I just need a high level of motivation, I'm going to go to the locker room. Yeah. And if I just need a lot of compassion or I just need to know that people have got my back constantly, I'm going to go to the foxhole. And really being very thoughtful, disciplined, and strategic about surrounding yourself, not inauthentically, but authentically with amazing people. So I love that you talk about this board of directors because it's so impactful.
It's amazing. And, you know, that old African proverb is that you can go faster alone, you can go further with others.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So for me, I am very blessed. God has done such an amazing thing where I have my YPO forum. I also have another forum. We call ourselves the BCCF forum. And these forums are like my locker rooms, mm-hmm. right? So I have this board of directors or board of advisors, but then I have these two different forums where we can speak confidentially about anything and everything that's going on. And all of us are at the same level. So all of us are CEOs and presidents. So you drop the titles and we're just humans. And this is the problem that I'm having. Can you help me with this? So that the importance of you listeners being the CEO of Your Name Inc. then puts you in a position to say, well, what's the most important thing for a company? What's the number one obligation of a company? The number one obligation of a company is to increase shareholder value.
Yep.
So if you think that way, now anyone and everyone that I meet and I bump up against, if what I said originally was true, that anybody can be a shareholder, now you're in a position where I'm looking to see how can I increase your value, no matter who I bump into.
Yes.
Because anybody can be a potential shareholder. So what I try to encourage people, think of yourself as a business. When you think of yourself as a business, the most important thing to a business is to increase shareholder value. Well, Dr. Smith, who is my shareholders? Anybody that you bump into.
So I love this because one of the things that I struggle with when I talk to and mentor people about I love relationships. We're both relationship people. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I have a lot of conversations about is that we need to build relationships that are authentic relationships. Like we truly are passionate about adding value to the world around us. And that's what you're saying. And I love this mindset of, let's just say, you know, I am the CEO of the AGN Group, but also the CEO of Angela Gill Nelms Inc., right?
That's right.
And when I meet other people thinking about how can I, because they're coming into this partnership with me, mm-hmm. and how can I just add value to their life when they're in whatever way they're looking for, not in a way that you're overbearing. So I think that there could be an instance of that, but really, how can I not be one of those individuals? Because what I hate are the people that reach out to me mm-hmm. and they want to connect, and it's super clear. They just want to connect. Right. because they just want to monopolize my connections, or they just want to use me for X, Y, and Z, versus the people who reach out to me and want to add value to my life. Those are the individuals that I want to have a partnership with.
And that's exactly right. And when you think about that same concept of when whoever I meet or whoever bumps into me in my world, I'm looking to add value to them, right? It's about other people first, us second.
Right.
So I love the fact that that's part of your organization, is part of ours as well, is that our people first, everyone else second, including my clients, including our customers. Our people first. If we take care of them, they'll take care of the clients, right? If we take care of them, they'll take care of us. If we take care of them, all the business things will be taken care of. So with that mindset, if you take me back to Milliken with my first team, I started learning about them. I would bring food to them. We would sit down, we would have breakfast, we would have donuts, and we would have orange juice. And this is on the third. This is on the third shift. So that was point number one.
And third shift is what time? What hours is third shift?
10 to 6.
Yeah, like 10 p.m.
10
to
p.m.
6 a.m.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And different people third shifts can cross over, but it's basically the twilight hours.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I started bringing food in, and I started learning their names. So Bobby, Big John, Little John, I started learning about their families. I started having conversations with them. So now they viewed me not as this old Georgia Tech degree young guy coming in here trying to tell us what we need to do, and he knows nothing about it. They didn't view me that way because I never told them anything to do. I told them, I just want to learn about you all. I just want to get close to you. And food and orange juice was a way of doing it. Number two is that I got out on the floor with them. So yes, I have an industrial engineering degree, came from Georgia Tech, but what we're trying to do, I need to do it with you. So as a leader, you lead from the front, not from the back. You get in front and you pull with the rest of your team, and you don't sit in the back of the carriage and use a whip to make them pull you. So as a young engineer, I got in the front. Let's go pull these jets. Let me get soaking wet with all of you. Let me get tired. Let me feel what it's like to do your job. And as an IE, because I understand process, I understand the system, I understand my players, but I need to understand the game. Once I understood the game and they recognize that he's on the field with us, he's feeding us, he knows our name, he cares about us, what happens? All of a sudden you have their trust. And once you have their trust, now you can say, hey guys, I got an idea. Let's change positions, right? Like, Bobby, you're sitting over there on that slitter and you're sitting down, but you're fast. I need you over here on the slitters. John, you do a fantastic job of recognized quality defects. You go sit on the slitter. All I did was take football. I took my players and I recognized that I got a receiver who can't catch the ball, right? I got a quarterback.
Love this analogy. I was already thinking about this.
It's true. I got a quarterback who couldn't hit that wall if he was standing in front of it, right? But man, if I put them into different positions and I start tapping into what their gifts are, and I start basically sucking out that which is already in them as potential and turning it into kinetic energy, we'll change. And within 6 months, that's all I did.
And the way that you did it, because one of the things I want listeners to understand is that I'm very passionate about people understanding that you cannot, as a great leader, you cannot go into an organization and immediately start making change. No. So I was experiencing this in my new role at Biolosity with Georgia Tech and Emory. And just because of loss of employees and that kind of stuff, I had people ping me like, you need to select what you need. And I was just like, no, wait. I'm not selecting who I need to hire next. I need to pause. I need to observe. I need to see where are we at now? Where do we need to go? What resources do we currently have? What resources do we need to add? And I'm going to resist the urge to, and I think the thing that when you're telling this story that really speaks out to me is that you came in and you said, I'm going to spend this time just being a learner. I'm going to learn about you as humans. I'm going to learn about your current processes. I'm going to observe, and I'm going to get in the trenches with you and feel what it feels like to be in there. And then together, like I may create a strategy, like a game plan, like you would in football, and you might, but you're also going to maybe do an audible at some point.
Absolutely.
And go in and say, I want to help each individual be their best selves. And the way that I'm going to do that is by really encouraging you to understand the value you add that isn't being optimized. And then we're going to sit back and celebrate it.
And I think Brene Brown talks about vulnerability.
Yes.
Being vulnerable. And when you get on the field with your teammates, you're not going to, especially when you're learning, you're not going to run every play correctly, right? You're going to mess up. They get to see you mess up. And you get to show that vulnerability, and you get to let them know, look, I'm just a human like you all. So teach me, right? Teach me. And then now they gain ownership. They gain some power. You reduce your role power.
Yep.
And now you are able to connect. So the food, learning who they are, getting on the floor, being vulnerable, it creates this connectivity. And when you have that connection to people, then they will trust you. When they trust you, they will follow you. And you want people to follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. And people only do that when they know that you care about them. So when you know their names and you know their family, you know what they want to do, you know what their dreams and their hopes are, and somehow, some way you can kind of lean into that, then that's when people follow you. And that's all I did. And from there with Milliken, that was my 4 years with Milliken. I received 6 promotions, and 4 of those promotions were upward level promotions. And every place I went, all I did was duplicate my same strategy. And at the time, I did not know, I had not read Michael Watkins' book, The First 90 Days. And exactly what you were saying is when you go into an organization, there are fences up that should not be kicked down, and there are fences that are not there that should not be put up. But you don't know that until you go and you have conversations with people, and you learn about them and learn about the organization and learn about the department or whatever it is. So with Milliken, I ended up having this fantastic career. I was on an upward level trajectory, 6 promotions, 4 of them upward level. I was fast moving, and then decided to go chase football. So while I was working at Milliken, I was driving. I was in LaGrange, Georgia, and I was driving down to Columbus, Georgia. I would work all day, and then I would drive down to Columbus, Georgia, and I was playing for the Columbus War Dogs. Okay, it was a
so listeners, we're gonna put a link to this in the show notes. I think I've never even heard of the.
Yeah, it's Columbus War Dogs. It was Arena 2, and they were. You got paid $200 a week if you won. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm working all day. I'm traveling down to Columbus. I'm practicing. We would have our games on
Friday. So this
Friday.
is very much a passion move, not a profit move.
Very much so. I'm going to tell you the big passion move, because I was working at Milliken while playing at Columbus, in Columbus and for Columbus War Dogs. I did that for 2 years. I got noticed, and a coach, Coach Frazier, who's no longer with us, God bless his soul, but he reached out to me and said, hey, we want to pull you up to Arena 1. And it was for the Toronto Phantoms in Canada. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, right?
So I've always wanted to play football. I've always wanted, right?
Now, Arena 1 is one step below the NFL in my mind, right?
Right.
So if I get to Arena 1, that's a step to the NFL. So
And you were how old around this time?
Oh, about 23.
Okay. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And but what ended up happening is the Toronto Phantoms ended up folding before I put in my 2-week notice, which was fine.
Thankfully, right?
Kind of, sort of, because Coach Frazier called me and said, hey, I'm going to Norfolk, and I'm going to be with I'm going to go from Arena 1 down to Arena 2, and I'm going to go to Norfolk team. Would you come with me?
And the Columbus team was already I
was
a level
in
2,
between. It
right?
was level 2, right?
Okay.
$200 a week.
Right.
So he asked me to come, and that's when it was a passion move, because there was no guarantee I was going to make the team. So it was really kind of crazy what I was doing. But a coach, shout out Coach Haywood Hill, he gave me a book, and he said he was in Columbus with me. I had this huge decision. And remember, I had learned talking to God, right? Through my prayer with my mom, through God, I need to hear
Pause,
from you.
take to God, and then receive.
So Coach Haywood Hill gave me this book, and it was Who Moved My Cheese.
Oh, I love that book.
I read that book.
So we're going to put a link in the show notes to that book, because I really honestly think that people our age remember that book. I think it's a generational thing, and I actually would encourage all the newbies, if you haven't, read the book. It's it's a classic.
I read that book, and that was God speaking to me that I should put in my resignation from Milliken after winning Manager of the Year, the same year, Manager of the Year. My team won Team of the Year. I had this rocket on my back.
Your shitty team that you got that they said sink or swim, right?
Well, but this was a new team.
I was just about to say, not to any of the people that were on the team that I think you're shitty, but I think that sometimes is the mentality that we have when someone gives us that, is that this team is shitty, and they really weren't.
Right.
Like, in none of these things, I think the reality is that none of the teams in the world are shitty, right? They get a bad rap because they didn't have a great leader who could help them live to their best. So I strongly believe there's no such thing as a shitty team. There's a shitty leader who hasn't figured out how to make the team the best they can possibly be.
Agreed, 100%. So even the team that won Manager of the Year, Team of the Year, we created a lot of efficiencies and productivity that was not there. Hence the reason why we were able to become the Team of the Year. And I always tell people, I would tell my board of directors at AATC, is that it's not the people on the floor for our custodial company. It's not them. They're not the issue. It's the leadership that's the issue. So if you keep the people, you change out the leadership, you will see enhanced performance.
Yep.
Right? Same people, same group of people. It's just a different leader. So I was able to accomplish those things very early on and decided I was going to jump and go chase football. And I did for $200. At the time I was making, I always forget the number. It may just call it 65,000, right? I was making.
Yeah, and this is in the late 90s.
This is 2000 and this is 2003 when I left. 2003.
Okay. And you were making how much?
Like 65,000, and it may have been like 63.5. I can't remember the number. I probably should get that number. Right, I should get that number. But we call it 65,000, and I left that to go make $200 a week. Right. And
which we'll let the listeners do the math on that. It's a lot less.
It's a whole lot less. It's a whole lot less. So I leave. I end up pack up my Acura. I drive to Norfolk, Virginia. And long story short, that's important for the listeners, is that I chased this football. But in Norfolk, I started working at the Coach store. I worked at Illuminations, which doesn't exist, right?
Yes,
but we remember Illuminations.
We remember that.
Right?
Yes.
We remember. Yes. So I worked at the Coach store. I worked at Illuminations, and I was playing football.
Like the Coach, the ladies' handbag store.
Yeah. So when that season was over, I transferred down to Atlanta to work in the Coach stores here. And there was one in Phipps, there was one in Lenox, and there was one in Perimeter. Perimeter was my home store. Funny story is that my store manager and one of my teammates, we all met last week for lunch.
I love this.
Or dinner.
And this is, so you're talking about maybe, what, 2005 to 20 years later?
20 years later. 20 years later, we met. And the reason why I tell that story is because while sitting with my store manager, right, 2 weeks later, and Tony, shout out to Tony and Miss Eleanor, Tony said, I remember when you were sleeping in your car. I remember when I found out that you were sleeping in your car. And I told Eleanor, and Eleanor was sitting right there. Yeah. And tears started coming to my eyes because I remember, and Eleanor said, I would never allow you to do that. You come and live with me. You come and sleep at my home with me and my husband and my family. You don't have to be in your car. So the reason why I share that story is because I was sleeping in my car on and off, and there was times when I had amazing friends that I could go and I could crash on their couch, but you didn't want to do that all the time.
No, exactly.
Right? So I would sleep in my car. I would go to LA Fitness.
And shower.
I would. I would take a shower in
Work
LA
out,
Fitness.
shower. Yeah.
And then I would go and I would work at the Coach store. So that story lets people know, when people look and they think that success is overnight, right?
We're back to the resilience comment.
right? People think that success is overnight, and they see
it's the longest overnight ever.
It is thousands and thousands and thousands of nights. It's thousands of nights. So, God got me through that. But during that time, I worked at a coach store. I went off, and I'm just chasing football. I went from Norfolk, Virginia, transferred back to Atlanta, went to Corpus Christi, Texas. Amazing story there. Then went from there to Iowa. Went from Iowa back to Florence, or back to Huntsville.
Okay, yeah.
Madison and Huntsville. And prior to getting back there, when I was at Corpus Christi, I had a severe concussion where I got hit. I was going for the ball, and me and my teammate going full speed. He hit me in the back of my neck, snapped my body around. I was out cold. They ended up having to cut the stuff off of me, put me on a gurney. They carted me away. MRIs, all that stuff, throwing up. I had a severe concussion. The doctor said, you should never play football ever again because you were one level down from brain damage with your concussion.
Oh my gosh.
Now, that obviously, devastating, all of that. But I came back to Huntsville, and I was with the Vipers because I wanted to play again. Mm-hmm. And I decided to play with the Vipers, and unfortunately, I was never the same because I'm on the field thinking about
exactly.
how to hit, how not to hit, all that
how
nonsense.
To prevent the the impending idea of brain damage that you're going to get.
Exactly. How to play through that.
Yeah, and how to be go rogue, not listen to the doctor, but you don't want to at the moment where the doctor said, "I told you so." Right.
Right. So it really sucked. It did. It sucked. Coach Hayward Hill, he ended up being there. So this amazing gentleman, kind of somehow we always ended up together, and he was always somewhat of a guardian angel, kind of just telling me and guiding me when I needed guidance at the time. So last part of this overall story, because I promised this would be the last part of the journey. I do. But this is important because it's part of my journey. When I was in Madison, Alabama, I had an opportunity because I'm working pickup jobs, right?
Right.
In between seasons, so I had an opportunity to work for Banana Republic, or I had an opportunity to work for Ashley Furniture. Banana Republic was a storeroom manager, right? Yep. Which basically I was going to manage the storeroom. Industrial engineer, I can do that. Manager of the year, I can do this.
Right.
Ashley Furniture was a salesperson selling furniture, and this was so important.
And you're an introvert. Let's remind everyone that you're an introvert. Yes.
I hated thinking about selling.
Right.
Even though I was selling purses at the Coach store, it was a little different. Now I'm going to have to go and I'm going to sell furniture. I need to learn about furniture. And in my mind, at the time, again, just young and naive, I thought about salespeople as used car salesmen, right? That type of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that. But then I said, because this is hard, this is a part of my story, and I hope that your listeners will get a piece of this, is that I was standing outside, Tanya and Sonia, I call them my sisters, grew up with them. I was crashing and living with them in their guest room. And I was standing outside making this decision, Ashley Furniture or Banana Republic. And I was so scared to do Ashley.
I know. I'm like, I don't know the answer. Listeners, I don't know what he's going to say next. But in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Banana Republic feels like the safe move. Right. And Ashley Furniture feels like the badass, bold, go outside of my comfort zone, do something that I don't really want to do move.
And I'll tell you, because we're going to talk about this at the end, everything that you just said is 100% correct. I'll add on. Ashley, Banana Republic was easy. Ashley Furniture was hard. And I was so scared to do it. It was the first time that I understood, very first time, is that I understood I need to step through my fear to get to the other side where there's glory.
Yes.
So at that moment, I decided, because I'm so fearful of it, I'm going to go do Ashley Furniture. You fast forward that story, I do Ashley Furniture, I start understanding what real sales is. Sales is not trying to convince you to get that cup. Real sales is about people and connection and problem solving. So you come into Ashley Furniture and you have a problem. And what I need to do is solve your problem. And I became known as the guy that would send people away. I would say, hey, go down to Haverty's. Go down to Lazy Boy. Hey, go down to Rooms to Go. They have what you need, right? We don't have it here. I started doing that. People would come back. And then they would tell their other friends, come back. And when they would come back, they would say, listen, you were right. I went down to Lazy Boy. They had exactly what we wanted. But the salesperson was an asshole.
Yep.
Right? We wanted to come back to you, and we don't want to give you our money. So get us as close as you can to what we want. And all of a sudden, I started stacking up all these wins. So people that were at Ashley Furniture for 30 years, I mean, this is what they did. Right. I was blowing their numbers out the water. Literally, I was creating 10, 20, 30,000 sales ahead of all these people that had always been furniture sales.
Because you saw the individual as a human being, and you were like, okay, as a human being, you have a problem. And what I'm going to do, because you're a customer and I want to make your life better, I'm going to help you solve the problem. And that may or may not be in the environment we're currently in. It could be in some other environment. But my goal is to help you as a human solve a problem that you have.
I was solving their problem, and I did it so well that people started saying I was stealing sales. Literally, they was saying to management, he's stealing all of our sales. And it wasn't that. It was that I finally understood what sales was, and I was able to do it better than them because I wasn't selling anybody anything. I was solving a problem. But that helped me understand, holy smokes, if I can do this with furniture, let me go sell some houses that the furniture goes in.
Right.
So I went and got my real estate license.
Okay.
In Alabama, I got my real estate license. In Georgia, I started selling houses. I became a realtor. That went from selling houses to where Lucius Sanford at Georgia Tech invited me to the Hall of Fame dinner to see Keith Brooken, one of my teammates, inducted into the Hall of Fame. I asked to go there. I didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. It was $50. Lucius told me, okay, I know you don't have the $50, but come and work, host, help me, and I'll waive the $50. And he wanted to introduce me to a gentleman who worked for Brandon Goddard at the time, so I could move from residential into commercial. And that is where I sat at a table. Jamal Ovington was at the table, played baseball at Tech at the same time. He was sitting beside Ed Fielder, Georgia Tech grad as well, who ran track early in the years. Jamal told Ed about me. Ed came around, and Jamal told Ed about my career at Milliken because Jamal had heard about it. Ed came around the table. He sat with me, said he had a position as a facility manager. I knew nothing about facility management. I knew plant engineering, Milliken.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, I was hired. And that literally took me from not selling real estate anymore. By the way, I was struggling selling real estate.
Because you were struggling, you were selling real estate in what was this 2005, 2006, right before the crash?
2000, yeah, absolutely. So it was the 2005 time frame into 2006. I started with Link Facility Services in 2006. And again, it's just amazing what God does, right? He knew the recession was coming.
A crash coming.
He knew the crash was coming. Right. But I was trying to get hired. So, because I was selling real estate, but I wasn't selling a lot. So I was like, okay, well, let me sell real estate and do my engineering work. And I know, like LG Electronics in Madison, Alabama, they turned me down and they told me, listen, it's not that we don't think you can do it. We think you're overqualified.
Yes.
And because you're overqualified, you're a flight risk.
Right. Exactly.
And I was like, come on, right? I need a job. I want to, whatever.
Right.
So I get hired, and what I did not know at the time is that my client was going to put the company out, okay, Link Facility Services, because we just were not performing the way we needed to perform. So they hired me. They just threw something against the wall. Let's just change the leadership, and let's bring in this kid. Let's see what he can do. And within 6 months, we won an award. And we went after the most improved plant, mechanical plant, and we won the best. The next year, we won the best over the most improved, which was us. Had never been done in the company's history. We won the Customer Hall of Fame Award. And this is from a customer that was putting us out, that was going to end the contract.
Right.
So all of a sudden, we went from last to first, and the customer, amazing customer, put me on a plane to Albuquerque, New Mexico, Carson, California, and Bethune, Boston, to implement the same processes of continuous improvement that we were doing in Covington, Georgia. And then the company said, "You've done well here. We need to take you over to Delta because we're having problems at Delta." So I transferred from General Mills. I went over to Delta, and at Delta, within 6 months, senior vice president of vice president of corporate real estate gave a call to our president, Phil Rogers, and said, "Hey, instead of us taking away your contract, we want to extend your contract. There's been a lot of improvement that has happened, and we're going to give you guys the opportunity to continue." And that team at the airport put me into a position of the same gentleman recognizing that they need a leader at AATC.
Yes.
And they had somebody.
And AATC stands for?
The Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company.
And what is that? So for people, any listeners who are in Atlanta,
phenomenal.
What is that?
Yeah, AATC. So people don't know about AATC because it's kind of in the shadows. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Delta girl. Yeah. I'm an Atlanta girl. I didn't know about it until I saw that on you.
It's super cool. It's an amazing group of people. But that organization is responsible for maintaining all of the building operations, facility management of the building. So think about when you walk into the airport, everything that makes that airport kind of work, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, kind of runs through AATC. Not 100% of it,
right? Okay.
But AATC is responsible for the janitorial. AATC is responsible for the clean services. They're responsible for the MEP, the mechanical, the electrical, plumbing. So the HVAC, the lights, power coming into that airport comes through AATC with our partnership with Georgia Power. The escalators, the moving sidewalks, vertical transportation, AATC is responsible for maintaining all of that equipment. So all of the things that kind of make the airport work and function as a building, AATC is responsible for that. So at the time that I was there, we had like 46 different contract partners that all helped me and partner with me and my organization, or the organization that I led, for our shareholders, which were the major airlines.
Got it.
Delta being the one that sat on the board of directors. So essentially, I, as president and CEO of AATC, I reported to the board of directors. That came about with all of that huge responsibility.
And I just want listeners to realize we're going from Kofi, sleeping in his car, working for Coach, taking showers in LA Fitness, to then being president and CEO of AATC.
My mom, I love you, Mom. Love you, Dad. They were sending me money to keep gas in my car. I was eating off the 99-cent menu at Wendy's and McDonald's at the time because I just did not have enough money, right?
Right.
And I was so fortunate and blessed for my mom and dad to hear me recently for the Georgia Tech Black Alumni Organization.
I saw your award. So go ahead and say what your award was. So yes.
It was Entrepreneur of the Year, which I just received that honor this past March. And my mom and dad were able to be in the audience. My two sons, Cole and Kyler, stood on stage with me to receive the award. And it was a moment that I'll never forget, because I've been blessed to receive some awards, and my mom and dad have been there to see some of these awards. But this one was very different for me because my mom and dad was able to witness not only the output and the manifestation of all of their hard work, their sacrifice, and what they gave up to produce this young man, but they were also able to see that with their two grandsons. So they were able to see all that they have done for me that has helped create the good part of me, because there's a whole bunch of bad, but all the good came from my mom and dad, and they were able to see their two sons' legacy, or their two grandsons, stand on stage. So listeners, I only mention that is because going from sleeping in the car, taking showers at LA Fitness, even going further back, speech impediment, bully, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, all of that to get me to that award that I just won last March. And going back to AATC, AATC was in a rough place when I came over there. And incredible people, but they had some very, very challenged leadership. So when I came in, at this point, I had read Michael Watkins' book, right?
Yes,
yeah. And I had realized, oh my God, this is what I've been doing. I need to call Michael and say, man, I've been doing your concepts.
Right.
But now I've read his book. I came into AATC, and I interviewed every single person in the company, every single person. and be it a 30-minute to an hour, and I had people in front of me crying. And the basis of the interview is I want to know what the good, the bad, the ugly is about this organization, and I want to hear from you what you want to see from me and what you don't want to see from me. So those 5 things, and then I told them who I was and my leadership.
I love this. So, like, listeners, any of you who know about me and what I've been doing since January 27th at Biolocity is exactly this. And I know so many times that to carry this on takes a lot of discipline. Because one of the things that I realized in doing this for the past couple of months with Biolocity is that because it's not the norm for individuals coming in as leaders, right? It's the exception, although we want to make it the norm. So it's not the norm. And so people were confused by it. And I was just like, no, I'm doing what I labeled it as customer discovery. Yeah. And all of these people are my customers. And I want to learn all of this before I make any decisions. And this is why, because then you can actually craft a vision and a path forward that is going to include all of those customers. And I think we forget that all of those individuals are our customers.
Absolutely. And again, going back to that, all these individuals, they are our customers. And if I'm Dr. Smith, LLC, they're also my potential shareholders. Right?
Yes,
right. I have to create value in all of them. I have to increase shareholder value. So when I sat down with all these individuals and I asked them those 5 questions and told them the 6 of who my leadership was, I told every single person that, okay, this is who I am as a leader, and what's most important about me living as a leader is that when I die, true story, I wasn't even president. They brought me over as vice president, by the way, because the board of directors, they thought I was a great person who had ran a department. I had ran a division, but I hadn't ran a company.
Right.
So they said, hey, we're going to bring him in.
We're going to test you out.
We're going to test you out. So we're going to bring him in as vice president of facilities, which at that time was called deputy executive director of facilities. Bring me in at that position. They did, and that's when I did all this interviewing. Okay, so I told everybody at the interview. They told me all their stuff. People are crying in front of me, things of that nature. I said, okay, here's who I am as a leader. Blah blah blah. But when I die, I want to go to heaven, and I want God to look at me, and I want Him to be able to say, it wasn't about the profit, it wasn't about the money, it's how you treated your people. Well done, my good and faithful servant. I told everybody that. And that is what I've always stood on. Not that I'm the best, because I have a whole bunch of problems, well, I'm going to see my therapist, okay? I have a whole bunch of problems. I don't always make the best decisions. And a lot of that stems from insecurities and all that stuff that I've been trying to wash away all these years. But I am very intentional, and I'm very purposeful about taking care of people. So if there's anything that I'm good at that I'll put myself up against any badass leader, is that I know how to take care of people, and I'll take care of my people better than you take care of yours, right? Because I'll give everything I have to them. And it's not about me, it's about them. So what ended up happening is board of directors came to me within 6 months and said, we're ready to promote you to CEO, which was at the time executive director, but CEO. And I said, well, I'm not ready. This whole airport thing is different. I know leadership, I know people, I know business, but I don't know politics. Give me 3 more months up under the interim guy who became my mentor and a good friend. Give me 3 more months under him to learn from him. So in 9 months, I became the president and CEO of the organization. You fast forward that story, we end up turning around that company, and we were recognized as one of the best places to work in 2015 with the Atlanta Business Chronicle. Fantastic. I was very blessed to be one of the most admired CEOs for the Atlanta Business Chronicle. I received the Trailblazer Award for the Atlanta Business League. I received the Image Award for the 100 Black Men of North Georgia. God just 40 under 40 for Atlanta, 40 under 40 for the state of Georgia. Graduated Leadership Atlanta, Leadership Georgia, the Regional Leadership Institute. It was just an amazing journey. And you take that president, CEO, all these wonderful accolades, all the things that I had to overcome to get there, all the things that I still struggled with even while I was there, having all of this incredible, what I call light shining on me, even though I knew I was still dealing with some insecurities, imposter syndrome. I had all this light, and when the opportunity came for me to make the decision to step away, it was a decision for me at the time to go into entrepreneurship, and I didn't believe I could do it. I was very scared to do it. But again, there was these moments that are stacking up.
Right. Resilience. You're building that resilience muscle.
And also building that resilience muscle, but also each one of those times I passed the class, I knew that I was passing it because of God's favor. So I knew every time I moved forward, I wasn't moving forward by myself.
Right.
And wherever he gives you vision, he will give you provision. So I knew that, okay, if I'm going to start this company, I don't believe I can do it. I don't think I can do it. Lord, I'm scared to go out and start this company. He will always send a messenger, right? And Miss Maikisha, who was at the airport with me, we were walking down the North Terminal, and we had talked about the business, like starting a business. I think I can start a business. And I told her, I just don't believe I can do it. I don't believe I can do it. I'm gonna lose my shine, which is
devastating.
It's devastating, right. But it's a egotistical statement to make.
It's like a surface thing. I think it ties into, when we all. I've heard a couple of people tell me they've never had imposter syndrome. I call bullshit on that. Yeah. And I think that we all have it, and we all have this moment, regardless of how successful we are, that if we're going to make a transition, that maybe in that transition, people might realize we're not as amazing as they think we are, which is what I think is like losing the shine, right? Is this fear, this vulnerable moment. I'm trying something new. And I had that, like, taking this Biolocity job, and everyone was like, you are perfect. Like, everyone who saw the job description, they were like, you are perfect for this. Yes. And you know what was going on in my head is, what if I can't do it? And then everyone who has so much respect for me at Georgia Tech and Emory, then they suddenly will lose. Mm-hmm. That was my fear. It was my fear of, like, wait, I have all these people who are raving fans of mine that, and suddenly maybe they will lose it because I will fail in this new role.
Man, it is so real. Just hearing you say that brings back the reality of what I was going through at that moment. And when I said, I just don't believe I can do it, I don't know if I can build it. I'm going to leave this airport. I love this airport. I love everything about this airport. The security, all of the prestige. Yep. Which I kind of wrap into this shine. And it was so crazy I would even allow that to come out of my mouth, but I did. And a lot of times, and everybody knows this who's listening, even if you don't try to, especially for men, we set our identity to our jobs, and having a job as president and CEO. And again, remember who I was. So now I have this, I'm
you
not
that guy. You were the coach salesperson who was sleeping in their car.
Taking out trash.
Exactly.
Sleeping in my car. And now I'm president and CEO, and I have been for 10 years, and all these things that God has given me. And I'm going to walk away from that. I'm going to walk away from that shine. And Miss Maikisha said, basically in that discussion, she said, you can't do it, but we can. And when she said we can.
The power of the word we.
Right? We can go faster alone. We can go further with others.
Right? Yeah. I will say that I was on a long walk earlier today, and I was listening to the podcast with Daniel Steer, who you have to meet. He's a future guest, and he has a podcast, Make Work Not Suck, with his co-host. Totally amazing. He was recommended by episode 1, Scott Wozniak. And I was listening to it, and it was all about this one I was listening to was about recruiting and about salaries and stuff like that. And I was thinking about this moment of Katie on our team. So Katie and I are a team of 2. Yes. Katie is employee number 2. And also, like, the reality is that Katie is very much underpaid right now because we're new, right? We're an entrepreneur. Yeah. We're not making money right now. We're spending a lot of money to try and empower the world. And we just hope that the moment will come that if we continue to do this, we will get the right opportunities to coach the right people and build the best brand. And we're building this together. And I was thinking that the power in that is that what makes the Badass Leaders podcast and what makes the AGN Group so amazing is not me because my name's on it. It's the we. Yeah. It is Katie is in the behind the scenes, but also taking care of every single person. And that magic of having that other person on your team and knowing you're not going alone, but you're going with someone you trust, who is aligned with your values, who's aligned with your purpose, and wants to make a bigger impact in the world. Like, how powerful is that?
It's so powerful, because as soon as she said it, I knew that we could do it, right? I knew that I wasn't traveling as in this business alone,
right?
I was traveling with somebody. And the other thing that she said was, when I said, I'm gonna lose my shine, she said, you're gonna shine brighter.
Yes.
And
yes.
how amazing is it that I truly believe that I would lose my shine, and I've probably done more speaking events and things like this in 4 years of being with Keystone than I did the entire 10 years of being with AATC. The other very important part about that is, and I always share this, so I have to share it, is that I had an amazing business partner who, like you, saw so much in me, and he believed in me. Like I was like, I don't know what he sees. I don't know what he sees, but I will not let him down. And I told him, I just sent him a text message the other day. I said, remember what I told you when we were in your office in Atlanta, that all I want to do was make you proud. And this is 4.5 years into the future, and that's my focus, is making him proud. And then very thankfully, and another major blessing in my life is that my spiritual advisor told me, Dr. Smith, God told me he has a package to deliver for you, and you're at the wrong address. You have to move and change addresses to receive the package that God has for you. And what he was saying is that I had to leave the comfort, support of AATC, and I had to step into this great unknown and uncertainty and put all of my trust in him. And there was a package that he was going to be delivering. And you take that, I don't even think I've seen the full package. I think I've just been able to see pieces of the package.
I think it's just starting for you. You know, when I started the hashtag Be Brave, Be Badass about 14 years ago, the reason, and what you're saying to me resonates with this, because the reason is it was back when I first started doing triathlons, and people would say to me, I could never do that. And I was suddenly like, oh, wait. Each of us has our own personal badass. And this is a foundation of the AGN Group, is that we believe that every individual, team, and company has their own badass. And what that is that's the absolute best they can be. Right. Yeah. And it's the absolute best they can be today, each day. Right. So our badass can change over time, but it's the absolute best that you can be that day. And what I believe is that so many of us are not brave enough to step out into the wild, into that comfort zone to reach that. And what I'm hearing from your story is that when that spiritual advisor was saying this to you, he was saying, hey, Kofi, am I pronouncing that right? Kofi? Yeah. Because when you said it the other way, I was just like, wait. So, but he was just like, hey, Kofi, when this is not you, there's a badass package for you. And in order for you to reach that level of badass, you're going to have to be brave enough to maybe relocate some things around and step outside of that. And that takes a certain amount of, it takes resilience from the past, right? Because when we have resilience from the past, then we can look back and say, okay, I've done hard things before. I can do hard things again. It also takes having that boardroom, your A team and all those people, because you can suddenly say, okay, if I screw up, I have people to reach out to. Right. And then it takes your confidence in whatever your spiritual nature is to say, when it's all said and done, if what I've done for my legacy has made the world a better place, I've won.
Yeah, amen. And along with that, what you just mentioned, what I forgot to say, because we talk about the legacy, is that when you have somebody that's willing to leave with you, right, who is willing to go and talk to their husband and make sure from a family structure with her husband and her little girl, is this what we want to do? There's a huge amount that I shoulder.
That's a lot of stress.
It's not just me letting down my wife,
right,
and my little baby that's at the house. It's me now saying, "Oh my God!" And by the way, I said my little baby is because at the time we had a 6-year-old, 1-year-old, so I had a young family.
Right.
And now I'm about to step out and I'm going to do this entrepreneur thing. Well, it's one thing for me to say, "Okay, I got my family," but now I got someone else's family, and it was just her and I that were stepping out. So that support of my spiritual advisor, the support of my business partner believing in me, and the fact that Miss Makisha believed in me. What I tell people, sometimes I hear a lot of I hear a lot of motivational speakers that talk about, and I understand why they say it, is that you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And that sounds really good.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who don't believe in themselves.
No.
Right? There's a lot of people that don't. And a lot of times these motivational
And they don't
speakers,
believe in themselves every day.
Every day, right? So
Right.
there's gonna be ebbs and flows
Right.
with that. So one of the things that I learned in that experience is that if you have the right people around you, then you can believe in them more than you believe in yourself.
Oh, I love this.
And that will create movement. They got to be the right people. They have to be people that you trust, right? And
Yeah.
if you trust them more than you're trusting yourself at that time, then you move forward.
Yeah.
And that was how I was able to move. By the way, at AATC, I mentioned to everybody that when I started at Milliken, I was feeding people. At AATC, I was president and CEO. I would come in on third shift, and I would feed donuts.
Yes.
And orange juice.
And orange juice. Donuts and
To my
orange.
third shift, right?
Where are my donuts and orange juice?
I
I'm just asking for a friend.
I know. I got you next time, right? I got you. So it was great, and I must say at that time as well, having this team around you that believe in you, but then also having that support team and that infrastructure that is there that will allow you to go and do it. Without my wife being the amazing mom that she is,
right,
and being able to say, "Go build," I got the boys.
because she's a part of the team. And I think that's what oftentimes we forget, is that when we go to do brave things, if we've spent the time to cultivate relationships authentically with people, then we have a much bigger team than we think we have. Yeah. And when we empower those team members and we show gratitude to those team members, and we also allow those team members to serve us, allow your wife to say, yes, I'm going to do this, and because I'm feeding into the mission. She's a part of the team just as much. The kids are as part of the team just as much as and I think sometimes we draw these corporate structures that are archaic. And instead, it's like, wow, the people that are making this successful are all of these individuals, because they're all playing their unique part of being able to add the beauty to what it is.
Everybody has a role.
Yes.
And when I chose my role, or I surrendered to my role as a special teams player, and because of that, I wasn't a starter no more. I'm third string, not going to go to the NFL being on third string, not even going to have a shot. I end up having a shot. But that surrendering into the role and then blooming where you're planted.
Exactly.
That is where the magic happens. By the way, one thing I didn't mention with that whole football thing, yes, I got that school record. Yes, we end up beating Georgia in Between the Hedges. We also beat...
let's reiterate. Say that again. We beat Georgia Between the Hedges.
Yes. Yes, we beat Georgia Between the Hedges, and we ripped out the hedges. I will emphasize that as well. Carried the hedges off with us.
You don't still have the plant from the hedges. See, that's the plant you need.
Isn't that amazing, right?
Yes.
Right? So it's so funny you said that, because when we beat Virginia and we tore down the goalposts, as athletic director at the time, Dave Brain, he had the goalpost cut up for us. And we all got a piece of the goalpost. I have it on my bookshelf at my home, remembering that amazing win against Virginia. But what happened at the end of that season, right? Special teams player, right? Got a record, great. Had some good wins, great. 10-2 season, fantastic. But my team members and the coaches voted me as a permanent team captain on special teams.
I love that.
And typically you got your offensive team captain, permanent team captain,
right,
your defensive permanent team captain.
But not a special teams.
And I walked out with that, and I had no idea. I still remember the moment to this day when Coach O'Leary asked me to come up. So all of that resilience, right?
Yes.
And just leaning in and accepting and understanding and surrendering, this is the role that I must play for the team.
Yep.
And I'm going to play this role the best that I can.
I love it. Okay, so I had this thing, and I learned it when I was very young. And I remember one day, and this, I'm trying to think of what circa this was. This is probably, I don't know, 97, something like that. And I remember going into an Office Depot or Office Max, one of those, and it may have been 2000s. Does not matter. The point being is that the person who was working with me, I was overhearing him talk to someone else, and he was basically saying, well, that he wasn't going to step up until he got the next position. And I heard that. Yeah. And I said to him, you know, my philosophy in life is that whatever role you have, you should be the best damn include the right. And so if you're bussing tables at McDonald's, you should be the best bus person on the planet. If you're and I believe this to my core, is that if you focus on doing your best job in the role you're currently in, then so many gifts and so many things are going to come to you because of that. It's when we think we're going to hold out our best for a future opportunity, which so many people do, right? Yeah. Is they're like, oh, I'll step it up a notch when I get this, or I'll do this when I get this. No. Do it today. Yeah. To the absolute best. So I do want to also make a comment that I think we should, Kofi and I are not saying you should tear down goalposts. Although last year when we beat Miami and the goalposts were coming down, I was in the College of Engineering suite and some of my other board members were in there, and he was just like, Angela, do you think we should go down on the field? And I was like, yes. Yeah. And he was just like, well, what if we get in trouble, you know, and it, like storming the field. And I was like, seriously, we donate to the university. What are they going to do to us? Right.
Right.
And so we went down, and, you know, Angel was recently saying he's still a little sore about this goalpost. But I think it's also this memory that we should always give our best. And then when we do, we should also pause to enjoy the celebration of the best that we were able to be a part of.
And I would love to just layer on to the comment about the young man that you heard making that statement. And so many people do.
Yes.
They want to hold out and, you know, I'll do this win. And a layer of that, do the best, right? Bloom where you're planted.
Right.
Right. But also perform now in the role that you want to have.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
If I want to be a vice president and I'm a managing director, right? Well, then operate as a vice president does, even though you don't have the role yet.
Yep.
Because when you start operating and performing in the position that you want, then the position will come and hunt you down.
Exactly. Because no one's going to have a doubt of whether or not you can carry that out. Right.
Start doing it now.
Yeah. When I was building Florence along with Ryan Jones and our Andreas Garcia, that was one of our big mottos, is that we really, we worked to pay fair wages, and we worked to always actually give additional money to employees when the rates went up and stuff. So they didn't want to go somewhere else. We worked to grow them. And at the same point, is that when they wanted their next promotion, we said to them, okay, we need to see you working at that capacity. And some leaders may hear me say that and cringe, but it was really this opportunity for a couple of things. From my perspective, it was also an opportunity for them to kind of test out the waters themselves to see if they even wanted that new role. Because sometimes you try something and you don't want it, right? But it was also the opportunity for it to be an obvious decision to promote that one. Okay, so we have a couple rapid fire questions for you that I want your wisdom on. Okay, one is, now that in Keystone Management, and also maybe in your previous examples, because you're a human first and a people first person, just like we are. Can you give an example of a time when you fired a customer and, you know, what was kind of the story behind it and what was the outcome of it?
So there was in Keystone. So at Keystone,
and tell us what Keystone is, because we've like done all your history, but not your current amazing work.
Yes, Keystone Management is a facility management company, a construction management company, a program management, and a property management company. The majority of our revenues are driven from the facility management side of the house.
Okay.
We started during COVID, and incorporated in 2020. Operations got running February of 2021. And we've been very, very blessed. God has shown favor on us where we grew from just Miss Makisha and I, just two of us. And we were doing everything. I mean, she was washing towels that we were using for cleanups at her home. So we were everything that entrepreneurs.
I love this.
We were HR. We were accountants. We were everything. We were everything. And to be very, very clear, it is very hard. It is very hard. It is very hard. And as I mentioned earlier, is that easy doesn't pay well, right? Hard does. So it's been very, very hard. It's been very, very fulfilling. And in 4.5 years, October will be 5 years of incorporation. We've grown from just us two to where we're 89 people, and we're in 5 cities. We're in 5 states of operations, and we're very blessed. We have amazing customers, and we have big customers and big clients. But there was a time in ATC where growth as you start is everything. You just got to get that first contract. You got to get that second contract. You got to continue to live. So it's that it's that hunt, kill, eat mentality.
Yep.
And for your listeners, I'll be very transparent because I told you that God has shown a lot of favor on us. And we have done as much as we can do, but I would be remiss if I did not tell you the first part of our journey felt more like God door dashing food to our front door.
Wow.
And then many times it was food that, we maybe had to prepare,
right?
But he brought it. And many times it came and we just get to eat.
Right.
And during those times, you're still focused on, we got to get a contract. We got to get this next contract. We got to, our contracts are 3 to 5 years. So you got to continue to feed the beast. In this one instance, we had an opportunity, a client that we done a little bit of work for, and they were ready to move us to a position of doing a lot of work. Okay. And in that instance, I really wanted us to do it. All right, because I'm trying to get whatever we can.
Right, exactly. Because you're also like, a good leader from an organization is, I think about this a lot with Katie, right? I'm thinking about how can I figure out how to bring money in, because it's not me. I want to keep her in her role. I want to do that. And I think that's what a good leader is doing, is they're focused on how can we continue to do these things. And so it can be hard because you can take jobs and opportunities that you should probably say no to.
Exactly. So in this instance, we had already done a little bit of work, and now was a lot of big work that was coming. Right. And I was like, we got to take this. And Miss Makisha, in her wisdom, she said, so I was walking, I teach at Georgia Tech, and I was walking to my class, and she called and she said, hey, have you gotten to class yet? I said, no, I haven't gotten to class yet. She said, okay, well, I just want to tell you, I don't want to disrupt your class. I want you to have a fantastic class, okay? But we're not taking that business. I said, what do you mean we're not taking the business?
Wait, what?
Right. She's like, and I've already told them, no, we're not doing it. It does not fit who we are right now. And we got to make sure that our people that we currently have are taken care of before we try to expand into this bigger opportunity. And she said, I told them no. And I was like, well, I trust you. So I'm going to go teach now. Right.
But how much does that say about you as a leader? Is that she felt confident enough, she felt empowered enough. Yeah. She felt empowered enough to be able to make an executive decision that was in the best interest of the whole company. Yeah. And then you reacted in a way that was just like, okay. I think you were probably in your head saying, okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom and puke right now. And then I'm going to go teach this class.
And it was funny because I actually told my students then about it, because my class was leadership and communication. And I was able to come with this fresh example of what leadership is, both on with her and what she did.
Right. And the way you reacted.
And then the way that I reacted in knowing that you give trust.
Yes.
And you give power and ownership to your people, and they will take that and they will do the right things. So that was a time that we said no to a customer when they were saying, we're giving you the work. And we said, thanks, but no thanks.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Rapid fire 2. Yes. I said this to you earlier. I love conflict. And actually, I love when I say I love conflict, people look at me like I'm an alien. What is it? But I have lots of reasons. Listeners, you can listen to previous episodes. I was severely abused as a child and I wasn't able to speak up. And so then when I finally learned my voice, I learned really the power of if you can create a safe environment for people to have conflict, you can turn it into cohesion and you can turn it into something amazing. And I really want to write a book on this because I just think the world is a better place if you have more of us who are really good at conflict resolution, helping the rest of the world improve in this. So I want to understand from you, what is your methodology for conflict resolution? How do you handle it?
I can't wait for you to write your book. Okay. I love that notion of from conflict to cohesion. I love that. And to answer your question, I'm not the best person at conflict, right? I'm an introvert and I'm a people lover.
Yes.
So one of my Achilles heel that I had to learn over time, Steve Alford, he told me the very first time when he was doing my review, I sat there and cried in front of him because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I thought I had done a great job first year in. But a part of my Achilles heel that stayed with me a long time is that I always try to make everybody happy.
Yep.
And you cannot do that.
Nope.
You cannot do that. So I'm not really good at conflict, but when I have to deal with it, right?
Exactly.
I have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And what I've learned over time is that when there's a conflict that exists, then you need to make it about the conflict and not the person.
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about the issue and let's not talk about each other.
Yep.
Because this is something that has happened or this is something that's going on. Let's talk about that. And if you can hone in your focus on that while also helping the other person understand that you're validating what they feel or what they think about whatever the situation is, if you're able to do that, keep it focused on the issue. Make sure that they understand that you're leaning in and that you hear them and that you're validating what they're saying and what their feeling is, then you're in a better position to get to a solution. But if one of those two pieces are not there, if we're not focused on the issue and we're focused on each other, there's going to be a debate and there's going to be a fight because both of us are going to start taking sides and we're going to become very defensive. And this is for relationships. This is for corporate. In corporate, obviously, I can't run away from conflict. So with my clients, that's the trickiest one, is that your client is telling you that you're doing something or your people are doing something that they're not doing, or your client who has the power and the check and the pen is accusing you of doing X, Y, and Z. Well, now it's personal, right? Because you're attacking my company, which means you're attacking me. But how do I stay in that frame of mind of not making it personal, but putting it back on the issue and then leaning into the customer and the client to make sure that I'm in your shoes and I'm having empathy, emotional intelligence to say, yes, I understand what you're feeling. I would feel that way too, if that was indeed the fact. So let's talk about these facts.
Right.
But that's the best way because, again, I'm a lover of people, so I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't even like arguing, quite honestly. I don't even really argue well. And I say I don't argue well because I'm not good at it. And when I'm not good at something, I tend to take a lot, and then I end up becoming that oven. So I heat up very slowly, right? But when I hit 450, ding, and now I'm hot, right? I am hot. I'm irrational, and I am blazing hot. And because I'm an oven, I'm blazing hot. And because I'm an oven, I take a long time to cool down, right? So there's microwaves out there. They heat up fast and they cool down fast, right? They move on to the next thing. But while you're microwaving me, right? I'm slowly heating up, and then ding, I'm 450, right? And I don't do that well. So I've tried to work in my professional life and my personal life on understanding how to resolve conflict. And those two things that I mentioned is keep it about the issue. Don't make it about the person. Don't make it about the people. And then lean in to the person and validate and understand what they're trying to communicate. Hear behind what they're saying, right? Hear behind what they're saying. Because all of us in conflict, our brains don't work fast enough to truly articulate what our feelings are because we're in conflict. So if you can't pause and be able to articulate, which is very hard for you to do, you got to have somebody that's in conflict with you to understand that that dynamic is happening, and I need to hear behind what you're not saying.
And I love the focus on the human, because when I do coaching, one of my favorite things to do is to come into teams and do coaching and talk about conflict resolution and talk about this, because the reality is that sometimes your best partnerships with your customers are ones that you've successfully navigated conflict with.
Oh, man.
And I can think of this one customer that we had at Florence, and they thought we were their only customer, and they just wanted us to develop all this code and all this stuff for them. And sales was coming to me like, don't piss them off. Don't scare them away. And I was just like, whoa, wait. Once again, everything we say yes to means we're saying no to something else. And so I had and I think when we look at conflict as there are humans involved, and really it's the need for transparency, and then taking a step back and kind of understanding the hierarchy of needs for different, then that's how we can get cohesion, right? And so to this particular customer, I knew they were very vested in us being as secure and robust as a software solution as we possibly could be. And so I transparently said to them in a meeting, look, we can't do all of these things that you want. Like, maybe somebody else can tell you they can. And if so, go ahead and go with them. But I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, this is what we can do right now. And I will be transparent with you along the journey. And if we have the opportunity to speed up, we will. And if we don't, we won't. Because our ultimate goal is to make sure you pass every FDA inspection that you have and that you are successful in all these ways. And the only way I can ensure your success is by slowing down some of these things that we want and saying no to some of these so that we can excel in the ones that are really going to set you up for success. And it was amazing. They ended up being our best customer. They were our raving fans. They loved us. And really all it took was me being transparent and kind of saying, this is the reality. This is not you versus me or anything, but I want you to be successful. Yes. And I'm going to kind of save you from yourself a little bit, which was what I think we have to do with customers, right?
They expect us to do that, right? You're the subject matter expert,
exactly.
Not them. As a customer, I don't want to have, and the beauty of me being at the airport and being in facilities before I got to the airport, I was on the side as the vendor. Then I stepped into the airport, and now I'm the customer.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So now I'm the customer, and I know what quality service is all about because I used to give it. Now I step out from being the customer and I step into Keystone. Now I know what the customer needs because I used to be you. So a lot of times as a customer, we don't know what we don't know. And quite honestly, we ain't got time to think about it. That's why we're hiring you. Be my subject matter expert. Save me from myself. Help me answer questions that I don't even know that I should be asking. And when you can do that, as you did, you build trust. Yes. And what I talk to my company about all the time, speed of communication, speed of action will get us to speed of trust with our customers.
I love that book, Speed of Trust.
It's amazing.
Have you read it? Yeah. Okay. I figured that. Okay. Next round, manager versus leader. How would you define the difference between a manager and a leader?
Yeah. What I mentioned earlier, I believe that a leader is always in the front pulling the organization, right? As opposed to being in the back and having the organization pull him or her. Managers, and we've all heard this, managers manage processes, they manage systems, they manage outcomes, and they're looking for execution. Leaders are making sure that the execution that we need, the processes that we need to work, that is all people, and I got to make sure that the people are good. So as it pertains to servant leadership, right? Yes. Servant leadership is all about service, right? It's so, there's all these beautiful books, Simon Sinek, Your Why, and there's so many books that are written on it. It is hard, but it's simple. It's just not simple or easy to do, but it's very simple.
After you do it, though, I will tell you this. So many of the times that, and I tie this back to the conflict piece, is that we can be really afraid of it, but then after we do it, it's kind of like, wait, the monster didn't eat me. Like, I didn't die. Right? It really wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And so focusing on, and one of the big reasons for this podcast is to help listeners hear stories like ours and say, you know what? If Kofi can do it, I mean, if the Southern boy from Florence, Alabama, can do it. And that's what we want. We want people to say, wait, if Angela can do it, she grew up in small town Griffin, and, you know, if we can do it, they can too. And we can help them get there. And I think that is when we talk about manager versus leader, I love what you said about managers focus on processes and procedures and that kind of stuff. Leaders focus on people.
People. That's it. That's it. Managers are processes, they're procedures, right? And leaders are people. Leaders are focused on people. And if you do that well, and again, anybody, you know, I've said on stage, I've talked to 300 business leaders in Atlanta, and my whole communication to them is that I know it's hard, and some of you that are so profit driven, if you would just believe what I'm saying
and be people driven instead of profit driven.
Yeah, but even if you're not people driven,
right,
and your outcome is like, you know, I don't believe all that stuff. That's just not who I am.
It's woo woo.
It's woo woo. I'm about making this bottom line, this top line. I'm about making the money. I said, guess what? My solution and ideology works for you too. So even if you don't believe in it, that you should be putting people first, if you just trust me and you put people first, you're going to get all the profit. You're going to get all the revenue.
I'll show you the money.
I'll show you the money, right? I will show you the money. And again, Miss Maikisha and I came over to Keystone. It was just two of us. And within 4.5 years, we're teetering on 90.
That's amazing.
And
I'm so proud of you.
And thank you so much. And it's because everybody that bumps into us or that is within our orbit, they are a potential shareholder. We must increase their value. We must take care of people. Our clients are people. Our people are people. Our partners are people. We just need to take care of people.
And we ourselves are people.
That's right.
Yeah, we ourselves are people. Okay, so how would you finish this sentence? A badass leader is someone who what? What is your definition of a badass leader?
Never quits. Keeps moving. Keeps moving. There is so many things that, man, this thing is hard. It's hard. It's when you start chasing your dream, right? If you want to do anything that's great, you're going to meet great resistance. It's just the way it is. There's nothing that is worth having that's going to be given to you. I mean, God just didn't create the world that way, right? There's no honor, there's no glory in being handed something. So what I've learned from those who are most successful, and they're however you define success. So it can be Dr. Martin Luther King, it can be Mother Teresa, it can be Jeff Bezos, it can be Oprah, it can be LeBron James, Michael Jordan. However you define success, these people were.
It can be the single mom who has just put 4 kids through college.
Absolutely. It can be the guy who his whole dream was to grow up and be a mechanic.
And that's
he
what
is
he's
now doing that work.
Exactly.
And he's a master mechanic. So whatever your pursuit, whatever your goal is, the pursuit of that goal is success. Whatever your definition of success is. But in the pursuit of that, no matter what it is, whatever the is, it is going to be very, very hard. And we all hit these moments. We hit these barriers. We hit these, Steve Harvey called it turn back moments. We all hit these walls. And the ones who are most successful, they keep moving. And it is the hardest thing. And that's why they are the most successful, because it's very hard if your spouse turns against you. It's very hard if mom and dad turns against you. It's very hard if your business partner betrays you. It's very hard if your clients drop you. It's very hard.
You get laid off from a board or something like that.
It's very hard if you yourself do something, right?
Yes.
And you self-inflict some pain. That's the worst pain, by the way. It's very hard. But the most successful people, what they figured out somehow, some way, is they take the next step. They take the next step, and it's painful. You're in tears. I was crying in my office on a Saturday. We were 1 year into the business, and I did not have $120,000 to make payroll. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know where I was going to get it. I had exhausted resources. I didn't know how to do it. And I'm in my office, and I'm crying. Nobody in the company knows it. Miss Makisha didn't know it. I didn't wait. I told her like a year later.
Right.
Because I certainly didn't want her to be worried. But it's hard. And when you have to ask people for money.
Yeah, that's hard.
That's hard. Because
you have to be vulnerable and think all the stories we tell ourselves in our head, right?
When you have to ask people for forgiveness. That's hard. So this pursuit is very, very hard. But a badass leader, what they know is that I'm going to take the next step. I don't care how hard it gets because I have to move forward. And it may be a leap forward. It may be a step forward. I might crawl forward, but I am going to move forward.
That's powerful. And, that's why I have this in my background. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. Hard is what makes it great. And I created this sign about 12 years ago or so. And I keep these things around. I have a tattoo that says perseverance in the storm. I have another tattoo that says fall down 7, get up 8. Amen. And it is that reminder that, hey, you know what? When it's super hard, just as was it Dory that says, just keep swimming.
Keep swimming.
Just keep swimming.
That's
seriously.
Right. Just keep swimming.
Okay, Kofi, I'm dying to know what your favorite motivational quote is because that's a requirement of this podcast. What is it?
It kind of filters into everything that we've talked about. And it's two quotes kind of combined. And I've mentioned it earlier. Easy doesn't pay well. Hard does. Everything is hard. So choose your hard. Everything is hard, right? Everything is hard.
Exactly.
Everything. Choose your hard, right? I could have stayed at AATC, and it was hard, right? AATC was hard. It was very rewarding, and it was very fulfilling, but there were some hard times at AATC. I could have chose that hard. Being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, it is hard. It is hard. Choose your hard. And I chose this, and it chose me, and I'm not letting go of it, right? I'm not letting go of it. So I would tell people, easy doesn't pay well. We always want to go the easy route, right? Easy does not pay well. It never does. Hard pays, but hard is hard. Everything is hard. When you talk to me or someone comes and says, but it's going to be hard, I'm like, everything is hard. Of course it's going to be hard. Anything worth having is hard to pursue and hard to capture, right? Choose your hard and go after it. Last point I'll tell you is in that hard, it is very important, as we've talked about, because it's hard. You got to have a team around you. You got to have a core around you. If I did not have all those people that I've mentioned earlier, if I didn't have my spiritual advisor, that when it gets hard and I get low, I can't call him and talk to him. If I didn't have my therapist that I could reach out to and say, help me think through this. If I didn't have Miss Makisha that's in the trenches with me and saying that no matter what, we're going to get through this, right? If I didn't have my business partner standing behind me saying, you'll figure it out. Here's some information to help you. I believe in you. Go back out there and get it done. If I didn't have my wife that was at home being the most incredible mother to our 2 children, there's no way I could do this because I would always be thinking about my kiddos, right? And I just wouldn't have the mental capacity to focus on all of this over here if I didn't know that they were safe and that they were being protected and they were being nourished and that they were being groomed to grow up to be 2 amazing men. But that's what my wife offers. So now I'm able to get into this jungle and say, all right, let me roll up my sleeves And when the blows come, I'm going to take the blows, but I don't have to be concerned about my 2 little boys. My wife got them, right?
Right.
I don't have to be concerned about these other issues because I have a core group of people around me that the issues are going to come.
Yep.
Rest assured. They are going to come. And when I say you don't have to worry about them, it's that you don't have to give in to them because you have a core that's going to support you. You're not alone. And again, a lot of motivation speakers, and I hear them and I follow a lot of them. I listen to a lot of them on Pep Talk. But this whole notion of you don't need anybody, all you need is yourself.
No.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I just think that is insane. I think it's not true. And I love the conversation of it being hard. I remember when I was getting a divorce from my daughter's dad and going to school as a 29-year-old single mom, and he said to me, "You will never be able to." And you know what? It was hard, and it was the best decision I ever made. So now I think when someone tells me something that I want to do, when I've chosen to do something, and they say, "You know what, Ann, it's going to be hard," all I think is game freaking on.
Give it to me.
Give it to me.
Give it to me.
Show it to me. Right? Game freaking on.
Give it to me.
Because you know what? I'm going to do the absolute best I can. I'm going to bring in my troops and we're going to collaborate. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, we learned a lot of resilient lessons and we're going to say game freaking on to the next opportunity.
And you know what's so amazing about that is that once you build that mentality, you end up saying yes.
Yes.
You end up saying yes. Right? Instead of saying no to opportunities that could create an amazing life for you, your family, or your community, you say, or people say, no, because of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Once you understand that everything is hard, it's now about choosing your heart. And once you get into that mindset of bring it on, right? Because I'm not scared of it. You just say yes. My clients ask for something. Yes. My clients, can you? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. Are you okay? Yes, 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 yes. Give it to me, right? Give it to me because I will not stop until I succeed and I will not let you down. So give it to me and I'll figure it out.
I love this. I love this. Okay. So tell the listeners how they can find you and learn more about you. We will include your links in the show notes, but tell them a little bit about where they can find Kofi.
So I need to do a much better job of posting on LinkedIn, but that is the best place to find me. Is Dr. Kofi Smith on LinkedIn. My handle on Instagram, which I must do a better job of posting on Instagram, is Dr. KK Smith on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So that's where the listeners can follow or can find me, follow me. I promise you, listeners, I'll do a much better job of putting posts out there. But apparently I'm doing an okay
job.
You're
doing a pretty damn good job.
Because it got me on this badass leadership Badass Leader podcast. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you for bringing the badass to this episode. I'm so grateful for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining me for today's episode of the Badass Leaders Podcast. To hear more interviews with industry experts and learn how to grow your career and leadership potential, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to ensure you do not miss future episodes. This podcast is a production of the AGN Group. To learn more about the AGN Group, visit our website at theagnGroup.com. There, you can discover more about our services, which include hosting workshops, management consulting, brand strategy, keynote speaking, and more. Follow us on all social media channels shown on the screen and displayed in the show notes. And until next week, be brave and be badass.